amplified through social media. It's like now it's not a school ground problem, it's a national problem. And I don't know what finally happened, but we do know that the girl took her own life. Darlene Candy, the person who allegedly committed the bullying, tweeted saying, in case you thought you knew everything, yes, it's true. The final statement has been issued by family, police, and school. Yes, I did fight her, as I regret, but I didn't murder her. No criminal record, but a warning. So what were you all saying, Mr. and Mrs. Knowing It All? Your problem is that you are too quick to judge like your saints. What do you make of that? Have you followed that story? One of the bullying and the regular bullying that takes place in our country at schoolyards. I mean, are you concerned for your own child, perhaps? And then the other part is that when this type of bullying takes place, the current norm is, and I've seen teachers being clapped, honestly, the current norm is like, but let me take a video of it because this is going to go viral, as if you're going to get paid for how many hits you get. Maybe you do, in fact, if it goes onto YouTube in particular. You tell me what you think. Right, let's connect now with the team from the Voice of the Cape. So what we're doing now, we're calling it, cities connected. Johannesburg, Cape Town, Durban, all connected for about 5 or 7 minutes or so every morning. And I'm certainly enjoying this type of connection. So with me is the person I spoke to yesterday, Sabira Sheikh Asap, who's the anchor at the Voice of the Cape, as I talk to her right now. And Sabira, as always, good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. It's good to be chatting to you once again. Hope you're doing well this morning. And good morning to all of your viewers and listeners joining us in on Salaamedia, as well as out in Durban on 90.4 FM.
Absolutely. So it's day 2 of our connection on air, which I'm quite enjoying, quite novel, right? You want to pick up anything that's happening in Cape Town in your communities that you'd like to share?
Yeah, a lot has been going on, but I just want to touch on what you were mentioning a few moments ago with regards to this young girl out in Limpopo. Ashraf, it's tragic. I mean, yesterday in the newsroom when we had received this particular story, so many thoughts, so many emotions came to light. I mean, I'm sure you've watched the video as well by now. And increasingly, it's become evident that these incidents are happening within our schooling system, and it brings into question if we are doing enough to address the issue of bullying at schools. I mean, if a child is being bullied, hours later commits suicide, there's something clearly wrong.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, but the question is, the whole question is rhetorical, because clearly not enough is being done, isn't it?
Yeah, and who's held answerable? Is accountability something that is met in South Africa within the education system? Do the powers that be know exactly what's going on the ground and within our schools? It's also interesting that a 15-year-old has now been arrested.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's one issue. It's an ongoing problem and it's massive. Yeah. Anything else? Let me pick up on this if you haven't thought on it. So we've been asking a question that, generally most of the mosques in Cape Town have a women's facility, and it's disproportionate compared to Joburg and Cape Town. Maybe Joburg 15% or 20%, Durban even less so. You know that, right? And this is important. I've picked up that many of the mosques in Joburg that normally would have that does have space for women to perform their salah, that space has been taken up now because men like me have now had to be moved into those spaces because of social distancing. So some mosques now don't have ladies' facilities for now, right? Only because of the space problem. That was not the case before, right? What has been the position in Cape Town?
Surely, if I think across the board, if there's a position that the Masjid Committee has taken to allow both men and women to have their facilities at a masjid, I understand it's a pandemic, but if you are now telling me that the women's section at the masjid is now being taken up to accommodate men, I find that a bit problematic in the sense of, are we discriminating against women now? Yes, women do have the option to pray at home, but many, like we see in the mother city, and alhamdulillah, many of our masajid that usually do have women's facilities, they are still able to offer those facilities for our women to be able to join in the blessings of the Taraweeh every night. So that's been
Yeah.
going pretty well as well. On our social media pages as well, we've received lots of questions, which massages basically have those female facilities that are in operation, that are working, that are open. So that's been pretty nice and, very welcoming during this month, considering everything that we've been through over the past year or so. So it's been
So
going, to answer your question, pretty good, yes.
so bottom line, you're not getting feedback from your listeners saying, in fact, this local mosque that I used to attend all the time for Taraweeh or for Jummah or whatever, or the other Farad prayers, in fact, that's close to me now because they've given the space to males. You're not getting that sort of feedback.
Not at all. And I think that that's symbolic in the sense of why we, and I think having lived in Johannesburg and Durban, you see the differences and the stark realities of what the communities are like as well. And in Cape Town, it is the mother city, and there's a sense of Uber community, if you will. There's a sense of warmth that I don't necessarily, and this is my own opinion, I don't necessarily find in Durban or in Johannesburg when I'm there as a Muslim woman within our community. And it begs the question that are we doing enough in those areas, in those regions, to address this sort of issue that women do face?
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you've given us your thoughts. The other one that I just want to pick up on, which I think is interesting. So, if you lived in Joburg, you'll know Rosebank, and I'm trying to think about what's Rosebank to Cape Town. Rosebank to Cape Town would mean Cavendish Square, I would think, right? And
Or the
Rosebank
DNA.
to Durban would maybe not Gateway. Gateway is more Sandton City, but something along that line. So they interestingly enough, they would never normally have Eid festivals at those type of historically white malls, if I can call it that, right? But they did it for the whole of last week, right? And of course, a big crowds. And what is interesting, there were lots of people selling their wares, and there's a need for entrepreneurship more so in these times than before. But interestingly enough, the selling point was that it was called the Eid Festival. If it was called, the Rosebank Fair, it would not have the same sort of attraction, right? Do you find the same thing? Because it does talk about, what I'd call brand Ramadan, right? Do you find the same thing in Cape Town as well, that fairs and activities get set up in the name of Ramadan or Eid, and as a result of that, people come up in big numbers?
Ashraf, to be quite honest, like you say, yes, we have a very similar thing here where we've already seen, Eid fairs and festivals being advertised. And I always find it a little weird and perhaps a little premature. We're on the second day of Ramadan and already we're, busying ourselves about Eid. But yes, it's quite similar to Durban as well as Johannesburg. There are the festivals and the fairs that are now taking place. I attended the first one last weekend already before Ramadan even hit us.
Well,
So
we're in the same boat. So it's not even like the days of Ramadan. It's actually before Ramadan. Let's leave it at that.
exactly.
Perhaps you've got shopping to do, and I do understand that. We're going to chat tomorrow in our Cities Connected, as always. Sabira Sheikh Asop, thanks for your time. Right. So we'll do it again. Loving that, and love your feedback as always. More to come. Abdullah Varachia as
That
well.
was
Imran
up there
Shinara.
with
But for now, let's get to the news at 9.
The Ashraf Garda Show, live and exclusive on Salaamedia.